This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and we have an entertainment interview for you today. And just so you know, the music playing in the background is from one of my best friends, Jeff Brisbane. It's called I Wish You Enough. But today, I think we're going to hear a different kind of music because my guest is Kristy Chmura. And Kristy, I'm so excited that you're here today because many of us don't know about performers like yourself. And when I say that, it's because typically on the radio, you hear a half a dozen of the same performers over and over and over again. And it's been like that for a very long time. And unless we live in the same area with you or somebody from your area has told us about you, we sort of miss out on your talent. So tell us a little bit about who Kristy is and how you got into the business of performance.
Oh, well, thank you, Karen, for having me on your show today.
Sure.
And yes, how did I get into becoming a performer is as long as I can remember, music has always been a part of my life ever since I was a little girl. Growing up, the radio was always on in the house, or my mom was always playing her records. Or sometimes, I be part of a choir either in school or church. And there was just always something with music. And I went to college, studied music. I have, my degree was in music performance as a harp major. So I'm a musician and singer, and songwriter. And it's been a journey. I never had a direct path. So for me, it was following, my calling. I felt music is more of a calling. It was always something I enjoyed doing. And it energized me when I was a part, like being a part of a choir and doing a concert, sure. Getting excited after the performance and feeling that you connected with people and a whole other level other than just having conversation or, so I, and me being, also attending other people's performances, I get excited by watching people perform. And so that inspired me saying, that's what I want to do. And so it's just been the, how do I get myself to do that and keep, choosing the path that leads me to allow myself to be a performer. And so I would play in like all types of, settings from, concerts, church to weddings to, but always knowing deep in myself that I really want to be a successful version of me. And that is the artist, the songwriter.
And I love that you said that because so many individuals, when they want to have a career in a specific field, most times they think, I want to be like this other person. I want to be as good. I want to look as good. I want to have everything that person has. And the reality of it is, because we're such unique individuals, aspiring to be somebody else sort of leaves you behind. And so I love the fact that your comment is you were trying to be the best you along that path. But I noticed that your instrument is not an instrument that, we regularly see in performance. Yes, we'll see the harp being played in a church, in certain concerts. And I also understand playing the harp is probably one of the most difficult instruments. Is that true?
I get that question a lot. And I don't know because I don't play every instrument is what I always like to say, but it is challenging. But I once tried to play the guitar and I found that to be a lot more challenging. So I stuck to the harp. So, yeah, it is, but it does require coordination because the harp, people don't notice unless they're up close, has pedals on it. And so you use your feet to get sharps and flats. If you're playing a pedal harp, there's also different styles of harp. The Celtic harp has levers so you can get your accidentals, your sharps and flats and naturals.
Interesting.
So it does require a lot of coordination and practice.
So what drew you to the harp? Because again, in school, that's not one of the first instruments they say, hey, who wants to play this? Usually it's, the drums, clarinet, trombone, something like that. And yet you said harp.
Well, yes, you're so right, because my school didn't have the harp as a, who wants to play the flute or clarinet today in band. But I was lucky that since I sang in my church choir, one time they had a harpist come play at the church and accompany the choir. And that is where I was first, exposed to the harp. And I was just mesmerized by the sound, the shape of the harp, and I fell in love with it. And so I remember asking my mom, oh, I want to play the harp. And she said, no, where are we going to get a harp? And so I thought, and she, I guess years later, I asked her again, and she said, she finally, somehow we found, our way to taking, private lessons. And so it was the beginning of my harp journey.
I love that. So I understand, in addition to playing and performing, you also write your music. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So when did you realize that you were a composer of music?
It wasn't until later in my life. I was in college, and I was, studying music performance, and practicing. I have to admit, I did not like practicing, but when I did, trying to learn this music, I found I would make a mistake, and I said, oh, I really like how that sounded. And then I started playing around with the mistake, and it turned into a song. And I thought, oh, I think I wrote my first song. And I was so excited, and put words to it and a melody. And I just remember feeling this, it was just like the most, like I said, an energy like that awoke in me. And I thought, this is what I want to do. And this is, so it was, around when I was, I guess, in my 20s. And so that's how it started.
So when you write a song, do you start with the music first? You start with the words in your head? Where does it all start to come together?
When I write a song, it varies. There's no set formula that I follow. So sometimes it is where I would always like to journal. So, that was always another, or I would say hobby, or, thing I would like to do. And so I have all these journals, and I would try to write some poetry, or just write all my thoughts down. And so sometimes I would take it from my journal and then try to, play some chords around those words. Other times it would be the music first, and then I start hearing syllables in my head of what would fit. And, so, and there's been times where even in my sleep, when I'm dreaming, I'll hear a song and I think, oh, wow, that's too bad that's a song already. And then in my dream, I'm like, oh, wait, I'm sleeping. And I would try to wake up and remember what I heard in my sleep. So it varies, the creative process of writing.
So you have something special you're going to be doing tomorrow. And for those listening, if you're listening after August 18th, this has already passed, but we'll find you other ways to hear Kristy. But what are you doing tomorrow, which I find really exciting?
Oh, I am really excited. This tomorrow, my band and I are going to be having a live stream show. And you can tune in on my YouTube channel, which is Kristy Chmura Music, and it's free. So anybody can just click and listen. It starts at 7:30, and you'll get to hear three of the songs from my EP live. And this is like a warm-up to our EP release show that will be a live show, which it will be happening on September 2nd. But yes, the live stream show also, you get to hear a little, I'll talk a little bit about each song we're playing too.
And for those of you who are listening, live music is so much different, to me anyways, than listening to music that's recorded. I love live music for a couple of reasons. Number one, I get to see the expression of the performers, okay? Your band members, yourself, which of course, when you're just listening to something, you have no idea, how excited they are. You can maybe hear it in their voice, but you don't see the whole thing. And that, I think, is important. And also, live entertainment isn't always perfect. And that, to me, is the best part of live entertainment, because sometimes we hear something that you actually will go back and change and say, hey, it should have sounded like that. Accidentally we did it, but you know what? That accident was, a good one. And so I love that. And plus, most live entertainment, unless it's in a big arena, it's almost like you're up close with the performers. And you just can't beat that kind of feeling. So where are you going to be performing on September 2nd, which will be live?
Oh, September 2nd will be taking place at Crossroads in Garwood, New Jersey, which, anyone who's in New Jersey, or if you want to take a road trip.
Right, absolutely.
And it's going to be a full night of music. So we'll have our, other friends playing as well. So it'll be, some opening acts, and then me and my band will go on, and, we'll perform live the EP and other songs of mine. And I'll have CDs for sale, even though I don't know if everyone knows what a CD player is still. I still have a CD player in my car. But we have CDs and T-shirts and all that for sale. And yeah, it's just going to be, I agree. The live experience is totally different than just listening, by yourself somewhere, and feeling energy, exchanged between, performers and then other people in the room,
Absolutely.
Feeling their reaction. So you can't beat that. And especially after coming out of a pandemic and, things, it's even more exciting, because
Absolutely.
I think we took for granted, maybe not, what that experience really was.
I try to get to as many live performances in the area, and I travel to upstate New York as well. But this year, I've just been so busy. I basically have been stationary at home. But at the beginning of the summer, one of my very good musician friends was sharing his new album, and my husband and I went, and I listened to his music regularly.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a different feeling when I was sitting there. I was in the second row. My feet were tapping. I really wanted to get up and dance. And when I said that to my friend Jim afterwards, he said, then you should have, because you don't know how good that makes us feel. And I said, yeah, I know, but I would have embarrassed my husband. So, I chose not to. But there is a difference, because last week I was listening to that album while I was driving in the car, and I heard it totally different. And that's the beauty of music, because it can transport us to different places at different times.
I agree. And yeah, and even like the words, the way you hear the words one time, it will ring true to you differently. Maybe something happened during the day and you're like, wow, that really spoke to me today. And it just like emphasizes a feeling that you had within yourself already. And so yes, I'm so excited. So people can buy tickets for that show. They can go on my website, Chmura.com, and there's tickets available to that the EP release show.
Perfect.
On September 2nd.
And we'll make sure we have that all in the show notes. So those of you listening, don't worry. You'll be able to find it. And if you're listening, even after September 2nd, that's okay too.
That's right.
Go to Kristy's website. You'll see where she is performing. And, you might be surprised. It might be very close to where you live. Or like she said, maybe it's time to take a road trip. I mean, so many of us have been cooped up for so long, like you said. But going back to that, the pandemic, I mean, we're still sort of in it in certain areas, but how was that for you as a performer, knowing that, you know what, I really am staying in the house all the time? I don't know if you were getting together with your band regularly or what you were doing. How did you survive during those 2 years?
Well, yes, I had to, stay home a lot more. And so I luckily would have my harp and, I could play my harp and, try to start writing again. And the studio, Lucky Penny Studios, where the live stream is, actually is my husband and I own that studio.
Okay.
So it was safe for us to go there and, work on recordings. So a lot of what's on the EP, we worked on during the pandemic. So it gave more time for creativity instead of, I got to run here to this next performance. But it was kind of scary. Like, are we going to be able to, perform again, or am I going to have to get used to performing to my phone and sharing something that way? But, so yeah, it was one instance, it was good because, like I said, it gave me time to then, work on my writing and then create more. And then other.
Yeah. And one of the things I learned from other performers too, even if they didn't previously have a home studio, they sort of created a home studio so that they were still present, so that their fans could hear them and see them. But also they picked up so many new people along the way because somebody was searching through YouTube, or they were on Facebook and something popped up on Facebook Live. All those areas were new to so many of us, and we all wanted to reach out. That in some ways it was a blessing, but I know financially for many it was not. And that's why I love when you said you're going to have merchandise September 2nd, because I want our listeners to understand that so much money goes into the performance that performers need to have our support, whether it's purchasing a CD, purchasing a download, getting a t-shirt. I have a closet full of t-shirts. And my husband and I laugh because I like to throw things out that I'm not using. But t-shirts from concerts and performances, they stay in the closet. And my poor sons, when I am gone someday, they are going to have a collection, and I'm not sure what they're going to do with them. Hopefully they'll put them to good use as well.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I thank you. Yeah, you're right. It does take a lot of money to create the music. And I don't think people realize that, because it's so easy to listen, like, oh, I just click and I can hear it.
Right.
And, you know, and it didn't cost me anything because I have maybe a streaming service or something like that. But, and then we forget how much time and funds and it really took to create it. It's a little different than like going clothes shopping where it's like, you know, you really have to like make that decision and you have to, you know, pay the person and purchase to get that piece of clothes. But yeah, with the music being so much more accessible, I think, yeah, we do forget how there is a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that go into it.
Absolutely. And to remind our listeners, you know, there once was a time there was no such thing as streaming. And so you went to the record store and you bought an LP, and eventually a tape, and then now a CD, and now we can download them online. And you're right, you know, many of us think, well, I'm already paying for the streaming service, you know, Kristy's going to get her money. And believe me, folks, she maybe only get, you know, half a cent to a cent for every download. So, you know, please take care of her and all the other performers out there. So can you at least tell us the names of the 3 songs you're going to be performing tomorrow night?
Okay, yes, I will tell you. We're going to be performing Leigh, which is actually the first single that we released from the EP. And we're also performing Come Home and Soul's Revolution. So those will be the 3 songs from the EP that we're going to be performing live tomorrow night at Lucky Penny Studios. And yeah, I can't wait for people to hear them because I'm really proud of the songs. And I hope that, you know, it connects.
Well, I will tell you that I will be listening tomorrow night. I'm really excited about it.
Oh, excellent.
And I hope our listeners will too. And if the band comes to the Cleveland area, for sure we will come and listen.
All right.
But we'll follow you on your website. Again, that will all be in the show notes because there's no excuse for us not to hear Kristy's music. So
thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye.